Welcome back to Sunday Supplement. Welcome back to our guests, Jonathan Northcross, Craig Hope and Jonathan Liu. Let's talk the Ashes now, because only 12 days to go until it gets underway. Adam Collins, cricket commentator and journalist and podcaster. Anything else? I think there's a few more titles for him. Joins us now. I said 12 days to go. Adam, 12 days of mind games, and the Aussie media no doubt seem to be targeting Ben Stokes at the moment. England's cocky captain complainer has been one line. Dopey Baz Bawl is another line. Is there a real belief among the Aussie media that they are getting under the skin of England, or that they can?
Oh, 12 days to go. Can you bear it? I can never really tell whether this is a blessing or a curse when this happens in every single Ashes cycle, especially in Australia. We're all guilty of it, fellas. We're all guilty of indulging in the pre-Ashes build-up and the chaos that ensues. But this has been fairly acute in Perth. And you know what? They've got what they wanted. They've got attention around the world from those front pages. What was the one a couple of days ago that was saying he has no mates, he's a loser because he's netting on his own, and the fast bowlers are lazy back at the hotel? You can predict there'll be at least 12 more days of this before the first test match, and presumably 7.5 weeks of it if Australia get on top in that first test.
Colo, how you doing?
Louis?
I wanted to... So I've been losing my nerve. All year, I've been telling everyone, like, England have got this sewn up, this is their best chance, and whatever, England are going to win. I'm losing my nerve here. But the thing that gives me a little bit of comfort is that Australian opening pair. Weatherald and Khawaja, actually, who people haven't really been talking about, but has been struggling. Yeah. How do you rate them as an opening pair? Is that a weakness, especially given England's pace battery, the strength they've got with that new ball? Is that a potential area of weakness, and how are they seeing it out there?
Yeah, it's going to have to be for England. I think the serious point here is that Khawaja is the under-the-radar big story coming into the series. He missed out in the Caribbean, of course, a magnificent double ton in Galle, but very different conditions. And last year, it was Jasprit Bumrah who worked him over. Now, he wasn't the only one, but high-pace bowling has been a statistical problem for Bumrah, for Khawaja for a time now. So if Wooden Archer can get into him, I don't think his lead time will be too much before he's under the pump. Mm-hmm. Other side of his career, Jake Weatherald, in many respects, this is a conservative selection. He's the leading run scorer in the Shield last couple of years, averaging mid-50s, 31 years of age. He's a journeyman. He's played for a couple of states. He's spent time living around Australia. He's made runs in short-form cricket as well. So I know it looks like he's an inexperienced opener coming in, but the other way of spinning this would be, what better time to pick him when he's at the peak of his powers? So that'll be interesting. A new opening partner for Khawaja. He's had many of them since David Warner retired, and on it goes. So I think that you're right in your analysis, though. If they can get into Australia early on, if they can start making inroads in the 20 wickets they'll need to win each test match, then we've got a ball game.
Hi, Adam. Craig Hope here. Now, Steve Smith is a character who divides opinion. You guys like him, we don't. Personally, I think he's fascinating. I thought he was brilliant in the Amazon documentary a few years back. Just give us an insight. Where is he at on the pitch and off the pitch right now?
Yeah, on the pitch, he's back to being Steve Smith, the ton machine. He went through a fairly fallow period between, I would say, late 2019, so after that remarkable Ashes when he returned to the Test side after his ban. From then, for about 4 years, he was back to being a mere mortal. Still very good, but along with everyone else, there was no real outlier for him. There were a couple of hundreds, but not much else. Since then, he's been prolific. He dominated against India last year when it mattered most. He took that form into the series in Sri Lanka, where crucially he was captain as well. Cummins missed that series because he was having a baby, which meant that Smith had the chance to be the full-time captain again and made 2 centuries over there. He came back from New York. He lives in New York these days, Craig. So he came back last week to play a Shield game. And what do you know? He immediately rattled off a century. So they'll be thrilled with where Steve Smith's at, sort of on the pitch. Off the pitch, he looks far more at ease as well. People would remember when he captained the Ashes in 17-18, and Louis was on that trip with me. He was frantic. They won comfortably 4-0, but there was something amiss with his communication skills. He confided to us that he'd been taking sleeping pills to get through the nights. He was really struggling, and that cascaded into the calamitous series in South Africa, where he made obviously an enormous error of judgment, which led towards the sandpaper debacle. So these days, Smith is a far more chilled out character. He's still obsessive with the bat, but I think that a lot of a lot of miles on the clock has helped him mature as a person and in turn improve as a cricketer.
Adam, it's not just England baiting in the papers at the moment, because you're in the papers as well. You've just brought out a new book. Favourite cricket stories from down the years. Have you got an Ashes-related one for us?
Okay, I'll give you an Ashes adjacent one. 1879, when the Australian fans were so convinced that the England umpire, who was an Australian, was cheating, that 10,000 of them stormed the SCG, and it led towards a situation where the England players were being beaten up by stumps, had to protect themselves on the pitch, and a bloke called Monkey Hornby, who went on to captain England in the first Ashes test in 1882, had his shirt stripped off him, and he performed a citizen's arrest, taking Australian fans into the England dressing room. So that's a bit of a taste of the type of book that it is, these rogue stories from the history of the game, from our Final Word Cricket podcast, and it's called Bedtime Tales for Cricket Tragics, and it's out tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. I might have to pre-order that one.
You'll enjoy it.
Adam, the viewers may be interested that you and Jonathan Liew are actually teammates in a cricket league. If you had to compare Jonathan Liew to an England cricketer, who would it be?
I usually describe him as like an angular medium pacer. You know what Louis is? He's the guy who has a really good final at Lords in the domestic comp at the end of the season, in the NatWest or in the pick your sponsor name, and therefore he ends up on an Ashes trip, but not being quite good enough in either discipline to play, but very important at the level below. So he's very competent and very useful in our Sunday team, but I sort of see him in that, I don't know, maybe like a Mark Elam type character. Not to talk down Elam's all-round skills, but never quite good enough in either to make it as a test cricketer. Is that good enough?
That is. Jonathan, you'll be pleased to know that we've got about enough time to ask you the very same question about Adam. Who would you compare him to in the Aussie team?
God, I mean, so it took 100 wickets with his off-spin this season, which he doesn't like to talk about. But, and a decent number 6 bats. I don't know, we'll say Greg Matthews, because he's a talker as well.
That's beautiful. Being compared to Mo Matthews, who's one of the loosest units in cricket. Beautiful. Thanks, Louis.
When we had you on last, you were quite cagey, I thought, about the outcome of these Ashes. The closer we get, what's your prediction at the minute, Adam?
Do you reckon? I reckon I might be falling into the hype back at home in Australia. I leave for Australia in about a week, and by the time I get there, I'll probably be going full Glenn McGrath 5-0. No, I don't think it will be that. I think that England are objectively well placed to win the first Test match because Cummins isn't there, and he is so essential to Australia's success. You won't like to hear that Cummins is ahead of schedule with his return to bowling, and he's a decent chance to bowl with his pink ball in the second Test match at the Gabba, which will be a real challenge for England. So it all hinges on them getting a good start, and from there anything's possible. All I want, though, I'm desperate for 2-2 going to Sydney. All I want is an Ashes series being alive in the new year, and I hate to get too serious, but like Test cricket needs this. We need a series that inspires, that captures hearts and minds, that gets little kids talking about the game and playing the game again. We're at an acutely challenging time in cricket's history in relation to the proliferation of these T20 domestic comps eating up more and more of the schedule. We need great Test cricket, and who better to give us that kind of thing than England and Australia in a series that's been carrying so much hype across 2 or 3 years now.
Yep, 12 days to go. The talking will soon stop. Well, it might do. Adam, thanks for your time this morning on Sunday Supplement.